operating procedure. The township will, of course, pay to fit up the space however it sees fit. Since it is internal office, it's really just internal kind of fit up that the tenant would do, that the township would do. It's a 5-year term.
No, talk to the mayor.
It's a 5-year lease term. There is one 5-year renewal for the rent to be determined at that time, and those are really the salient terms of the lease.
I'm rather disappointed to hear you recite it that way, because we had also discussed that it would also be divided in two, and it would also be housing for the paid EMTs.
Yes, it can.
in that location.
Yes, it can be.
You
And the
didn't
li-
mention that in whatever you
My
wrote.
my apologies. The lease actually specifies that use as well, so it's for police and paid EMT.
Okay, thank you.
And just, we'll mention this also, Mr. Spiro, and you had mentioned in the past too, response time for the EMT being on that side of town, and just more of a police presence on that side of town. It's beneficial to the town. I think it's, it's an asset for the public for safety reasons, and there's a lot of activity on that side of town in regards to, the town growing. So it's in the best needs of the public to have that facility there. That's my opinion.
Mr. Inglesino, it may not be a question for you, maybe for Ellen. In reference to the agreement, who's paying for the renovation cost, and how much is the anticipated renovation cost?
The town would pay for whatever, you're just renting the space, whatever renovation the township would do, it would be township costs. I'm not sure, that part of it is a question for Ellen. I don't know whether that's been planned yet or not.
Is there a planning reservation? Is there a plan that we have in place?
The chief of police is in the process of working on that. We wanted to not move too far ahead until we knew that that's the direction we were going. But there should not be that much cost. There'll be some furniture costs and maybe some partitions, but it's
Are we
very
putting a
limited.
holding cell? Is there a holding cell there?
I don't believe there will be.
It's more of a processing area.
Yeah.
A processing area?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not going to be, no, it won't be that.
Processing and I guess base for patrol. You could park
Yeah.
cars
Right.
out in the lot.
Yeah.
And
so
for
that-
the ambulances, there's going to be charging stations for them where they can be
That
housed
would be
there and charged?
considered, yeah, that would be considered, yes.
Well, the owner is willing to build a separate building at the back of his parking lot to house the EMT trucks that will have charging facilities.
Is that part of the contract?
No.
No,
That's going to be further discussed later, but he's willing to do that.
that was mentioned in the past,
He's
yeah.
expressed a willingness to do that.
If he's willing, shouldn't it be in the contract before we sign off on it?
Well, no, because this is,
Totally
again, this
separate.
is a 5-year deal. I think that if he were going to talk about actually building a facility for that, I think at that point it becomes a much longer term, much longer term deal. I think that this has been looked at in terms of stages, and the way to create an immediate presence in that area of town for both the police and the paid EMT is to utilize the existing space and park vehicles outside, and then phase 2 could be something more permanent and more elaborate in terms of the construction of a building. But at that point, my guess is he would want more of a commitment from the township in terms of sort of term, and then we would be back renegotiating. So the thought was, this creates the immediate presence that we understand that the town wants, and that there is the prospect of a phase 2, which would be a longer, more permanent presence.
So the police chief is putting together a renovation
Yes,
plan, but
yes.
is there a plan being put together by the ambulance squad as well?
No, because I don't want to mislead anybody. We work very hard on many aspects. You're talking about one location. There are about 3 or 4 different projects that are in certain steps, one of which is to talk about the utilization of District 1 and having a first aid ambulance, the paid ambulance service from there. We have to coordinate where the best locations are. There are, as I say, this one and 3 others. So we're working on that, and we're also working on a location where we will be housing perhaps the whole entire unit of that as well. So That's why it is best to stage this. There definitely needs to be a police substation up there.
Yes.
That was the main thrust. I'm not saying there will not be an ambulance service, but right now, we're gonna make sure we place our dollars and our resources and our direction in the best possible locations, and there are many things afoot. I mean, I see the mayor nodding yes.
Right.
I mean, he can
Yeah.
tell you that,
The main, when we first negotiated this deal, it was a substation, a police substation. That's what was needed the most. Like the business administrator said, there are so many other locations that we're looking at right now, and we're talking to other individuals as well, where, we can't have one everywhere, because then it would just cost so much money. It would cost way too much money for the town to even absorb, considering that, we charge, in a sense, and try to make the revenues. Right now, this is strictly for the police substation, and that's what we negotiated, and that's what we're asking you to pass tonight.
And when you're looking at the size of this town, it's not uncommon, other towns that are our size, that they have a police substation. So to be quite honest with you, this is long overdue. It's an ideal spot on that side of town. And again, there's so many things that could be done with that substation, community policing, more of a presence up on, again, that side of the town. And again, response times for safety are gonna be a lot shorter, having another presence up there. So there's a lot of different assets and facets of what could be done up there.
Respectfully, I'm not disagreeing with a substation. I believe we should have one and a greater police presence. But addressing Mr. DePiero's question as well as my question about our emergency services, how is the ambulance squad going to be accommodated? What square footage of the substation will they accommodate? Will they have a charging station? And what's the overall plan of the substation as far as the financials are concerned? How much will the renovations cost? The lease is one aspect of it, but we're signing a lease going into something without knowing the complete picture. So what I'm trying to get a handle on is the complete picture of financial expenses and the utilization of the square footage.
Okay.
okay,
Excuse me, I think the deal, it says $2,000 a month, that's the expenses gonna be for the town, for the substation.
Not
We
renovations.
didn't negotiate any EMS, we will in the future, so we really don't have any expenses to give you what it's going to cost and what, and all that kind of stuff right
And
now.
if
We don't
after
have that.
everything is done, that it will be placed up there.
Yeah.
There are
Just-
numerous locations that may be
Yeah,
even
and
far
just-
greater.
And just getting back to that facility, there is an operational bathrooms that are there. You have a bathroom that's handicap access. Shower that's in there also.
I mean, the EMS is an
Yeah.
option, it's in the lease.
That's an
You don't
option.
have
Yeah,
to use
we're
it
not-
for
we're
EMS.
not closing the door in that area.
It's there
But-
as an option if that's what the township wants to do. And as the business administrator indicated, your renovation cost is really minimal because the space is built out. So it's not like you're gonna be building out space. It's gonna be things like partitions,
A
desk, things of that nature. So you don't have, like hundreds of thousands of dollars of TI, cost. It's not a shell that you're leasing. You're leasing finished space. And so I would, I would say that the cost of how you're going to use that space really should not be the driver because, you don't have fit-up costs. I mean, I understand if you were going to lease a shell,
Right.
well, now you're talking about,
put
potentially
bathrooms in there.
Right.
significant
Well, as Councilman
cost.
Valori just mentioned to me as a sidebar just now, he says, you're familiar with it because that was his campaign headquarters, so I'm familiar with what he's
Okay,
talking
so you
about.
know you know the
I know
space.
what he's talking about, that it's built out and has a shower and bathrooms, but you had just mentioned that it was going to accommodate the emergency services for the ambulance squad to Mr. DePiero, so that's why I'm interjecting, because
Yeah.
now I want further clarity as well
And-
as to what the ambulance squad is going to be
And-
involved
well,
with.
It could,
just-
it could. The lease provides the option for the space to be utilized for that purpose. But I think you heard that plan, to the extent there is a plan for that space, because there are a lot of different options, that has not been developed. What this lease does is it provides another option for the paid EMS, while at the same time providing a more definitive need and immediate use by the police department.
I will also say that at the last meeting, I did ask the chief of police to come out. He had answers ready for it because he knew he was not going to be able, he doesn't come back from a trip till tomorrow. So I had the chief here, but at that point, I know it's the work meeting, but the agenda meeting, but I did have him available for any questions, and we haven't received any questions at my office that I'm aware of, so that we could address it, because I could have had the deputy chief give you more details, because I know
Yeah, I
they're
saw the
working on
chief
it.
here the last time,
Yeah.
but he wasn't.
That's why I had
He
him
wasn't
here.
invited up to give a presentation or talk about it.
No, because
But
he was
Mr.
available
DePiero
for
had an additional
comment.
question,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that he had a very good question, Mr.
Yeah.
DePiero. So I'd just like to refer back to him to say, Mr. DePiero, do you have any further questions or concerns about the ambulance squad?
Since they're looking at other options, I'm gonna back away. I didn't know that there were so many options.
I wasn't aware of either options.
Well,
either,
just,
so.
just on this note here, we know that the facility, the location, will be an asset for the police department to respond to that side of town, Section 5, Section 4 down
Be
to
an
the
asset
lake
for our
area.
residents, definitely.
Absolutely. Asset for our police officers too, especially when the weather gets bad. You have cars that are right up there on top of the mountain. And if it happens to be where it's not the ambulance, where they'll be housed there, but those ambulance members could probably stay up there on that side of the mountain with those police
Yes.
personnel if it's a bad weather. So again, we're just thinking outside the box. We know that we're looking for spots to park and house our ambulance. We have a developer that would be more than willing, but that's something in the near future if it has to be that way. But right now, we know that particular piece of real estate is going to be used to house our police officers for a substation, something that's long overdue and something we all have been talking about probably for the past 2 years. So the time is right. The price is very affordable, and it's an excellent location. So anybody else have any questions, concerns before we vote on this?
We have to open,
Well, we need the open session.
Oh, I'm sorry,
public
I'm sorry.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2017:19.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call?
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
The floor is open for this ordinance only.
Thank you.
Nick Comiak in Lake Hiawatha. One simple question. Is there any room in the police budget for the $2,000 a month in the overall police budget? In other words, the town doesn't have to pay. It would come from the police budget. Just,
Is that your only question?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're talking about probably the start of this would be in December. Is that that's the date? So
Yes, December 1st start
Yeah,
date.
December 1st. So, yes.
That's the answer. Yes.
Yes, it's in the police budget. There's sufficient funding in there.
Great. Can't respond back.
Well,
No,
I
Ellen,
don't, I'm sorry.
you answered it. You can talk offline. Okay. Is there anybody else from the public like to come forward?
Motion to close the public hearing for this ordinance.
Second.
Great. Motion made by Mr. DePiero, second by Mr.
Carriffy?
Paluso or Karifi. Roll call?
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and the hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second, Grignani.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, second by Mrs. Grignani. Roll call?
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Who we got next here?
Non-consent agenda.
Great.
Resolution 2017-127, resolution of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, providing for a single and combined issue of general improvement bonds, a single and combined issue of water utility bonds, a single and combined issue of sewer utility bonds, and a single and combined issue of golf recreational utility bonds, authorizing the sale of $62,826,000. General obligation bond series 2017, consisting of $43,827,000, principal amount of general improvement bonds series 2017A, $5,119,000 principal amount of water utility bonds series 2017B, $7,197,000 principal amount of sewer utility bonds series 2017C, and $6,683,000 in principal amount of golf and recreational utility bonds, Series 2017D. Authorizing advertisement of a notice of sale, authorizing the chief financial officer to sell and award the bonds, determining the form and other details of the bonds, and authorizing other matters relating thereto. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call?
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consent agenda. Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council will be approved by one motion.
Can I interject for a moment? Mr. Inglesino, I had conversed with him earlier. There is a motion as part of the consent agenda for Resolution 2017-115 as it relates to Craftsman's Farms. I just want to note for the record that several of us, if not all of us, are members of Craftsman's Farms. We do not receive compensation for it, but we're a member of some stature, I would say. So I just wanted to ensure there's no conflict of interest for any of us members voting on this.
Based upon the facts as you described them, I see absolutely no conflict of interest whatsoever. And Mr. Paluso, you and other members of the governing body that fall into your category of affiliation with Craftsman Farms are free to vote.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let me start.
Okay, continue.
Continue.
Be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Carriffy, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Now, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, second by Mr. Carriffy. Roll call.
Roll call?
Yeah, they introduced it. Yeah, so they can take that down to local finance board. They were gonna pull it off the agenda, they said, no, introduce it. No, introduce it.
Yes.
Introduce it, it's better for them.
Okay.
Sorry. Where are we at?
Adjournment.
That's great news. Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Mr. Paluso?
Yes.
Mr. Valori?
Yes.
We're adjourned. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Thanks for coming out.
Good night, everyone.